either. Joining me now is tech expert Juan Guevara. I've known you for like more than 10 years.
Just Juan Guevara. Yeah. Hi.
Juan, my friend Juan is here. He is the tech expert. He knows what he's talking about, and he is here to tell us some technology when we're talking about the antenna. That is what this crook was after in this Wells Fargo incidents that we've been hearing about. I didn't even know there was an antenna in our credit card.
You know, it's interesting because they have something called NFC chips.
Okay.
Which stands for near field communications. It's a fancy word of saying, hey, I am a computer and I can talk to other computers as long as they're near. Wow. That's what it is. So just imagine having some sort of a serial number token, okay, that is only active when you bring another computer that activates it. Okay. That happens with your iPhone. We talked about this before.
Yes.
So essentially what it does is that chip gets activated when you're closing to the card readers, and that creates a token that authorizes a transaction. So it doesn't matter really if you rip the card apart. In fact, you can completely shred the card. As long as you have the chip, it will work.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I'm done with my credit card or it's expired and I'll just cut it up. And that's like not.
Well, if it's expired, you don't have a problem. Okay. Because if expired, what it does is the token is on a database. And what they say, okay, well, this serial number, just to say the least, is expired, it's not allowed to conduct transactions anymore. But if the card is active, if the card is not expired, and most importantly, if the card is not reported lost or stolen, that chip is active. And all you need to do is just to take that chip and parade it around the city, and if your card has a limit, it will go through.
Wow. All right. So even if someone cuts the card in half, could they still find a way to make it work if it's not expired?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not going to tell you how. But what I'm telling you is absolutely. In fact, I mean, you're on social media all the time. So there are some people that you can send your debit card or your credit card. You don't like the way the plastic looks. You can send your card and they completely remove the chip and they put it into a metal card or things like that. The reason for that is because essentially the computer of the credit card is that chip. And that's the way it works. Now, it's very susceptible to being hacked. Because when you use the chip, essentially what you do is you bypass a lot of the security. Because it's assuming that the card is in your possession and the card is actually being read by a secured reader. So one of the things that I think we should tell the audience is if you have a digital wallet, Apple Wallet, Google Wallet, Samsung Pay, whatever you have, it's better to have those cards stored in your phone because guess what? Nobody will be able to throw your phone out and just use the card. And then you can use the same technology because the iPhone or the Android phones have the same technology where they work with near field communications. So they're able to connect with each other and the transaction is way more secure. But if somebody's asking for your credit card to turn it around, to completely shred it, one of the things that I would suggest to the audience is either you shred it yourself where you completely destroy the chip or you run the risk of this happening to you.
So we all put ourselves in these vulnerable situations because we're at a restaurant or a bar and we just give the card to the person and they go in the back. I mean, how do we know that they're using it in the right way? Okay.
You don't. And it's very interesting. I was telling you I was overseas just a couple of weeks ago. And one of the things that we've seen in other countries that we don't see in the United States, which I don't understand why, is people at restaurants, bars, hotels, they're not allowed to take your credit card.
Oh.
They have to bring the reader to you, which is a completely different practice. Now, some restaurants in the Austin area, for example, they're starting to implement that type of procedure.
Yes.
It's not mandatory, though. So one of the things that they're doing is they bring the reader to you, so you tap the credit card into the reader so your credit card doesn't leave ever your possession.
Yes.
That's one of the things that we should implement. But the most important thing is people can clone your credit card very easily these days with stuff that you can buy online.
Wow. It's crazy. I'll tell you a vulnerable thing I did was I was on vacation at a bar and they said, our reader's over there. Can you give me your phone?
No. Did you do that? Rashi Vats?
Yes.
I know you. Did you do that? Oh my God.
I was like, well, because it was just, because I had the tap, thing, and then they just took the phone and.
You have the tap in, so essentially you unlock your phone. You gave a stranger your completely unlocked, vulnerable phone, so they can do whatever they want with it.
Right.
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. I saw it happen right there. But you're in a situation that's kind of awkward. I know I should have probably just said, "Well, is there another way of doing this, or whatever?" At that time. But,
we have to be. There's a principle in cybersecurity,
right,
which is called trust no one.
Okay.
You have to be your first line of defense.
Yes.
Always. So just assume that you have to be careful and don't do stuff just because you're naive. I understand we trust each other and that's we trust in the nature of another human being. I get it.
Yes.
But just don't put yourself in a situation where you're an easy target.
All right. Lesson learned. Won't do it again. All right. Thank you so much, Juan, for being here.